From the Major Label Debut Podcast Network, this is your MLD News. I'm Graham Wright, and joining me, as always, to take a long, hard, scrutinizing look at the various comings and goings of the music industry and all of its denizens, it's Major Label Debut producer, John Paul Bullock. John Paul, how is your weekend?
My weekend is excellent, Graham. How is yours?
It's great. It's a long weekend here in Canada. I don't know if it's a long weekend in the United States as well.
It is not. They keep us working. So, you guys with your socialism, I think that's a word. Maybe this podcast gets blocked now because I've used that word. We can't incite some kind of uprising here, but we don't get holidays. They don't allow us the holiday.
Of course, this podcast is being recorded in the middle of my long weekend, but by the time it goes out to the people, this will all be behind us. So this is really irrelevant to the larger topic at hand, which is, despite it's pouring rain here in Toronto, it's a gray day. It looks a little foggy there in Los Angeles as well. So it's not putting me in the mind of summer festivals. And yet, we're talking about summer festivals today.
Yes. Less fog, more smog, or the marine layer, I think is what it's often miscited as.
That does make it sound so nice and fresh, the marine layer.
It is. Yeah, it is very nice and fresh here in Los Angeles, I think, in general.
That's good. Am I correct in understanding that you are in the midst of attending a music festival as we record this?
I am. I am. I just had my cups of coffee, and after this podcast, I'm going to leap into my car and drive to the beautiful city of Garden Grove, immortalized in the sublime song, "We Took This Trip to Garden Grove." It smelled like Lou Dog inside the van, is what they, if you remember that one. But I'm going to day 3 of the Surf Guitar 101 festival, and it has been truly great so far. It is mostly in celebration of the 30th anniversary of Music Records, which is a Los Angeles-based, truly awesome surf guitar label. And last night, 3 of their biggest acts performed. It was Draculina, who is the youngest and most up and coming, but also I guess she's like a full-fledged star of the surf guitar world at this point. Like she's this is her second full-length album just came out. I snagged myself a copy of it. That was followed by Pollo del Mar, who have a reissue that just came out of one of their early records on Music, that Music actually put out on CD in the 90s. This is like a beautiful multicolor vinyl reissue. And then the Bomboras, who are low-key probably my favorite surf rock band, played a spectacular set where the singer and organist set his Farfisa-like keyboard on fire at one point it was fantastic. And then Los Straitjackets, legends of the game, were the big headliners, but there's a zillion other great bands playing. Tiki-Yaki Orchestra. There was a tiki themed night on the Friday.
Naturally.
And there was a awesome performance by a sort of sub band within Tiki-Yaki Orchestra that's called Tiki-Yaki 5-0, that plays more of the Hawaii 5-0 spy kind of TV and film influenced music. That was great. Most of this music is instrumental. Most of this music is performed to a crowd of people that are significantly older than me. So I go there and I feel young and spry. And I bought a literal ton of records. Thanks to Elliot Kendall, shout out to Elliot, I got a Ventures record I didn't have of psychedelic covers. I got some Ameripolitan stuff. I got a banjo record that told me that the banjo is back, or that is sweeping the nation, from the early 1960s. A lot of 50s, 60s, 70s records I purchased for myself, and then a bunch of stuff that was released in the last 2 months. And so part of the great thing about the festival is they have the performance area is ringed by vendors, and so you can go and get cool and a lot of spooky stuff, lots of spooky, tiki stuff, a lot of kind of retro 50s, 60s stuff, hot rod stuff. If you're into, also they were auctioning a beautiful Jazzmaster that was like a Fender custom shop that was built to 1957 specs, I guess I think it was the first year of the Jazzmaster maybe, but it was truly a gorgeous guitar. They had a bunch of Surfy Bear stuff that was at the auction. They had raffles for guitar pedals. Also, it's a true like nerds festival, and I just sit there with Rachel, my wife, and at a table and zone out to the beautiful, blissful sounds of people who are better at guitar than I am, and it's awesome. Totally great. 3 full days. We went to Anaheim to a tiki bar called Strong Water. We went to the best part of it, honestly, so far, has in Garden Grove. If you're down there anytime, there is a barbecue place called Smoke Queen, and it is a fusion restaurant of traditional Southern American barbecue and then Chinese flavors. And they have the genius woman who is the pitmaster there has like bought the entire city block around it and turning it into this like compound so you can get your barbecue and then walk outside, and there are all these different seating areas and little places for additional vendors that they're putting new shops in. And I hope this woman takes over all of Los Angeles and that she lives in a solid gold house and drives a rocket car, because best barbecue I've had in LA. I'm gonna say that right now, straight up. Like maybe better than Bloodsoe's. There's not a lot of southern barbecue here. There's a lot of Texas style barbecue, and this was, I'll say, maybe the beauty of it was that it wasn't trying to recreate something that it could never capture, that it's a unique twist on a thing, and in that way really like exceeded my expectations. Incredible service. People were super nice. Go down there. Smoke Queen Barbecue in Garden Grove. Check it out.
Smoke Queen for mayor. You heard it here first.
Yes,
on Major Label
absolutely.
Debut. That's the MLD news we're breaking.
please be our mayor.
The unity candidate, Smoke Queen. Well, what you've described is one kind of festival in the cornucopia of music festivals available to us. And, we both as fans and as, performers and performer adjacent AAA wristband holders have attended, I think, between us, most of the notable canonical music festivals in America, and I guess also Canada, although we have like one in this country. And we're in the thick of summer festival season now. So while this is not so much a consumer report on what festivals one should attend, because many of the big ones have already happened, it's MLD's annual look at sort of the state of the festival union and what it tells us about where this business we call show, and particularly the rock and roll component of it, is headed and where it's at. And, 20 years ago when you and I first met, and when Tokyo Police Club was a fresh, exciting band who was getting booked to play all the big festivals, it really seemed like the festival scene had a clear identity and a clear purpose. And when you went to your Coachellas and your Lollapaloozas and, your Shakey's Knee and what have you, it made sense, or it made sense to me. It made sense to where I was coming from and what we were peddling, and, a band like Tokyo Police Club fit into the hierarchy in a very particular way that has changed a lot. And, obviously part of this is just aging out of the prime demographic. But when I look at the posters now for Coachella, and for, I looked at the Reading and Leeds posters the other day in preparation for this, and was surprised at how few of the names rang any bells for me, and also at how, I don't want to say rudderless, because I know the people in charge of these festivals are crack experts at putting together a lineup of bands and artists people want to see, but it doesn't seem to have one identity to me anymore. These big all-you-can-eat festivals, there's now these micro-targeted festivals that have a micro identity that is just hammered on over and over again. And then Coachella is just sort of a collection of anyone that, might move the needle in terms of getting people out to the desert. You're closer, I think, on the ground to literally Coachella, but also just the American festival scene in general. What do you make of this moment in music
Well, I do
festivals?
think that there is a real like divide between scrappy, you know, but well put together festivals that reoccur every year at a certain level that for more niche interests like you're describing, like Circuitar 101 is put on by two guys, this guy Jeff and this guy Christopher, and they're both like in the scene. They care deeply about it. People who are going there know who they are. They pour their heart and soul into making this thing feel bespoke and comfortable, and it's reasonable. Like you can go in, watch a band, go back outside to your car, eat a sandwich, go leave and go to a restaurant if you want to, and then come back. And then it just makes, it's also everyone's an adult there. And so I feel like a lot of the more niche interests are for people who are already deeply embedded in that scene or are getting deeper into it. And then these larger festivals that are run by corporations all have a kind of sameness to them, which I think leads to a bunch of acts that have records coming out that year being programmed into them. Like whoever is the Brooker behind Rufus Du Sol, I was like, what is this? I totally off my radar, and I went to in anticipation of this, listen to that, and was like, how does this match with Charlie XCX or the Strokes or any of the other big bands that are playing the top slots at every single festival? And I really don't think it does. I mean, it does seem pretty random, a lot of the groupings of these things, but then again, I do think that consider the economy, consider the cost of, I mean, a single day festival ticket in Los Angeles for, I think the like mid tier, like not gen pop, just you got through the gate, but like there's access to a little bit more of a comfortable environment for almost everything is, I think, between $300 and $500. And so you're like, if you and your partner or a friend are going to the show, you're minimum spending $1,000 for a day. And then some of these festivals that are Coachella, where it's 3 days, you're spending what for some folks is like a month's salary, and I just don't fully understand how you put together one of these big shows like that if you don't have enough artists that appeal to like a huge swath of people, and that it is by design without a distinct character.
And add to that the fact that now, if you are an artist that can appeal to a wide swath of people, if you're the kind of artist that traditionally we would think of as a festival headlining act, you're looking at the way the touring industry is going right now and probably saying to yourself, why would I use my LA play to headline Coachella when I could simply play my own show and get paid way more money, even as much as I'm sure Coachella splashes out to their headliners. If you're Taylor Swift, you play 25 nights of the Rose Bowl. You don't need to headline Coachella, and the value of it. All the gatekeepers and the curators of perceived success or importance in our culture across the board are being diminished in their importance and their significance and their credibility. And so the idea of headlining Glastonbury, which when I was growing up and dreaming of playing music was sort of one of the most incredible things one could do to headline Glastonbury, was to sort of be coronated as the most important guitar band going. And that whatever the word is I'm looking for, the shine on that has changed. It's gone away, and I think people are looking in different places. And so you're trying to book a festival that can get people to spend a month's salary to come hang out in a field and pay, another month's salary for water bottles all weekend, but you can't get the biggest bands to be on it because they'd rather take that money for themselves. It creates a very interesting landscape.
But just getting people off their couch. I mean, now you can watch Coachella. Like, we're recording this in the middle of Lollapalooza weekend, and there is a high quality stream. I think it's on Disney Plus in the US that is of most of Lollapalooza. So you could stay at home and not go to Chicago, or what's nice is you could watch these festivals like the Fuji Rocks, in Japan, and get to experience a little bit of what that is. But there is a real kind of sameness to a lot of it, and I think that after a certain age, if you have experienced it, unless you have a routine where you're going with friends or this is the thing that you're planning to do every summer. Like I've gone to this Surf Guitar 101 now, I think for the last 4 or 5 years, and it is something that instantly recharges my batteries. Like I get into it and I just kind of melt into the reverb, and it's great. I know I've talked about it on the show before, but this thing is, I can understand the value in that if you are like, you've developed a routine with it, because I certainly have with certain festivals. But then there's other stuff. Like I was making a list of things that I've never been to that I would want to go to. And I know you played them all. So it's like you're looking at it from this way different perspective than a lot of people. I mean, what we talked about in the past, like, what's it going to take for you to go to another music festival? Like when's the next one you're going to?
I went this very summer, just like a month ago, for the first time since I retired from the rock and roll game. I went to a festival with my wife to attend it, to enjoy it. It was the Mariposa Folk Festival in beautiful Orillia, Ontario. And it was the first time I'd gone to a folk festival, which I learned really quickly is elementally different from a sort of corporatized rock festival like I was used to playing, and was an absolutely beautiful experience that really bowled me over and instantly made converts. We sort of said halfway through, we're coming back every single year. And the lineup was pretty good. You know, Billy Bragg was one of the big headliners. Father John Misty was probably the biggest name on the bill. It wasn't anything like, like your Coachellas, like your Lollapaloozas, like your Osheagas, but instead it was this beautiful, manageable, human scale event where, you could walk around it in reasonable amounts of time. And the food was good and, wasn't cheap, but it wasn't totally it didn't seem like any element of the festival was primarily geared to extract money from the people that were attending, which was beautiful and refreshing. And so I had a really wonderful experience. Now I did, because I have enough friends who are still playing these things and hosting these things. I did have the wristband that I covet that got me through the gates, but there was almost no special areas. You go to Coachella and there's like a Russian doll nesting sequence of increasingly VIP all access areas that you pass through on the way to the artist zone. And it's very luxurious, and it's very luxurious in a way that feels pretty typically American, where it's plainly tiered by like power and money and
socioeconomic influence.
Yeah, the better you are, the more worthy a human you are, the better an experience you get to have going to the bathroom and getting a drink and like,
or the bigger
sitting
fool
in some air
that you
conditioning.
are. Let's be real.
That's right.
Like,
that's a good point.
It's like let's see how much money we can squeeze out of you for the perceived clean bathrooms. None of those bathrooms are ever clean. Let's like be real about that. You're not going to find a clean bathroom at any of these festivals.
No,
I don't know. Maybe some of the there's the rise of the single day festival in Los Angeles specifically is very interesting to me. Like I have not really been to any of them. The big one that is focused at me is Just Like Heaven, but inevitably, and maybe it's just my interest, but like the stuff that appeals to me the most is the stuff that's on the lower third of the big list of bands. Like Just Like Heaven this year has a bunch of, it's like The Strokes and The Rapture and all these bands from the LCD Sound System and Matt and Kim, but below that there's stuff like Pixel Grip and This Is Lorelei, and I mean even TV Girl, who's become a huge band. But yeah, then there's like George Clanton. They do a little of the let's get the dance stuff in here along with the rock stuff. But indie sleaze, indie rock from the mid 90s to mid aughts. You have played the first version of that festival. You were the very first band to play that festival, I believe.
That's right. And that was a real, I don't know if it was truly the first, but it was the first time I ever noticed the idea of the micro-targeted festival. And it was interesting because festivals are one way that you can sort of gauge your success level as a band, and you sort of know there's years where everyone wants you and that the money is eye popping, and then there's years where you've never heard of the festivals that you're getting offers from, and the money is a little less eye popping. And Just Like Heaven came to us in a period where we were not getting great festival offers, and it kind of felt like, oh, this isn't the kind of band that people are trying to slam onto their posters anymore. And then Just Like Heaven came through with a pretty eye-popping offer, and then was so successful that they added a second day with the same lineup, and so had to pay us again to play another 30-minute set at noon, which was it was such an odd occurrence at that time in our lives to get such easy money. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that there was like what I had done was part of this nostalgia play, and that has succeeded so wildly that bands like the Strokes, who probably, there was probably a time where they were more resistant to headlining the So Y'all Like the Strokes festival, are now, cheerfully out there doing it, and I'm sure being handsomely compensated in return.
Well, also on the topic of the Strokes, I will say I do like the new record the more I listen to it, and all the criticisms of the auto tune and incorporating stuff from the Voids and the slowness of it and all that, I think are overblown, and I highly recommend anyone who is a Strokes fan to let it wash over you, because it is it's interesting, very kind of like spooky in a way, kind of doomy,
Mhm.
and it'll be interesting to see how those songs translate to live performance. I wonder if they play much of any of it, or just the up tempo ones. But
Yeah, I didn't take the opportunity to catch them when they were just here in Toronto, so I don't know what the show is like, but they're down one guitar player.
Yeah,
But
which
that's
is
okay.
well, I hope that guy's okay. I hope that
Yeah.
everything's all right. It's interesting. I was thinking about festivals that I never went to, and one of which that I know you played multiple times was Outside Lands, and I was like, I've still never been there. That to me is so sprawling, where you see the lineup and it's just blocks of text, and there's every day there's 100 bands or whatever. I it's always been a little imposing to me, and it also seems like you're on an island. It does have a very like John Carpenter kind of like Escape from Alcatraz like energy to it.
And my experience and therefore my memories of all these festivals is, you wake up on a tour bus to the sound of a kick drum somewhere, and there's the headlining band has started sound checking, and they're just from somewhere around you, and you stumble out of the bus into just a muddy field or a dusty gravel patch, and then instantly all around you there's festival campers and people who have been there all weekend, and it's so alive, and there's so many things going on, so many blocks of texts flying around, but you just sort of stagger out into it, having transported there while you were asleep, and that's it's a surreal environment, at least from the artist side.
Well, it's interesting. The thing I'm more attracted to these days are things like Levitation in Austin, where it seems to me that they're more diffused and out in the city, more like kind of a version of South by Southwest, or what CMJ used to be like, where it's at a bunch of different nightclubs. I saw at this Levitation already that there was a party with the Dots that had already sold out, or I don't know if it's that they sell individual tickets to individual shows, and then also a festival pass that gets you into a certain. I didn't. It just, they have so many interesting stuff, including a couple Serpent, like Manor Astro Man was on the Manor Astro Man seems back and touring right now, which is awesome. But yeah, I'm interested in that. I'm also interested in there's one. I've never really gone to an international festival, and you were talking about how they are kind of diminished in their stature at this point. There are a couple that every year I'm like, ooh, Primavera looks great. Or there's one in Wales called the Green Man that looks so cool this year, where it's like, and it's totally like geared for people. It's Fortet and Wilco and Wolf Alice and Cat Power and Mogwai and the Beta Band and, Sparks and like Baxter Dry Cleaning, who we've covered on the show, Kate LeBon. It's this kind of like, Tricky, who's playing here in LA soon. And I'm like, do I go see Tricky? Is Tricky going to be good? I think probably.
I think
Tricky
probably
seems always good. But
and I'd like to see. There seems like no better place to see Tricky than at like a Welsh hippie festival where they also at the end of it they burn a man.
Do they? They do a Burning Man?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
They burn the Green Man.
That's awesome. So yeah, the Wicker Man has the longest arms of any piece of like it is. Certainly a top 10 horror movie for me, but like it is a maybe top 100 movie of my lifetime too. It's like it profound cultural impact, probably because it's based on real ancient stuff
and
human sacrifice.
Speaking of being based on real ancient stuff, why do you think it is that Europe and the UK can do music festivals seemingly maybe not effortlessly, but with a sort of a natural flair, and everyone seems to just sort of understand how to behave and how to embrace it, and America and Canada cannot and have never, even Coachella, I would say there's never really been an American music festival that has had anything like the same kind of cultural currency and lasting value and importance as Glastonbury, Reading, Leeds, et cetera, et cetera.
People still have manners, I guess, or ingrained. I have a really stark memory of going to see the Eels when I was going to school in England for summer, and I went to see them, and everyone sat through the entire performance and clapped in between songs, and it was like silence. And people were being reverent, and that was like an alt rock band from the 90s that was like kind of in a interesting mid period there. It wasn't music that to me demanded that kind of reverence. I think if it had been in the US, it would have been at a comparable venue. Everyone would have stood the entire time and would have talked in between songs, and there would have been more of kind of like a general din in the environment. And this was just, I think that people have a different relationship with theater going, concert going, consuming art in Europe than they do in the US. And it seems more in Canada, maybe Mexico. I'm very curious to go to some of these big festivals in Mexico. Speaking of surf, there is a giant surf festival in Mexico that always gets like cream of the crop, the biggest acts and historical acts, and then stuff from the post Tarantino Pulp Fiction revival of surf guitar in Mexico City that like does numbers that look like American One Day Festival, or it looks like 20,000 people going to see instrumental surf guitar in the middle of Mexico City. And maybe that's just Mexico City's 3 times larger than any other city in North America, and there's enough people there to justify that. But I don't know. I do think that we're all a bunch of barbarians, maybe.
Well, I think that maybe there's like, in Europe, they still have epigenetic memory of communal living on top of one another. And so they can all be crammed together and behave. And Americans and Canadians are used to wide open spaces and individualist living. And so when crammed together, they don't want to take up any less space. And it makes for a more a spicier environment at some of these festivals. Because you go to the Glastonbury and shit, and it's like, these are not prime conditions for what I would call like the human enjoyment of their space. It's like
anything.
You're up to your ankles in filthy mud, and there's just everyone's shit-faced drunk from like the first thing in the morning. It's not, you use the word manners, and it's not like there's manners on display in the traditional sense that like my grandparents would recognize. But there is a sort of, they understand how to be on top of each other and get their carling in anyway. It's a beautiful thing.
I truly, is this where you're going to tell us that you want to also have a historically accurate Odyssey? This is what you want, the We
Yeah, I've got by the end of the year, I will be revealing my grok generated perfect music festival. And then we'll see. Then we'll see
what's
who's really winning.
I do. I mean, Rachel and I used to always talk about it. Like, I remember the thing that's beautiful to me too. Also, is like you watch festivals emerge out of the primordial goop and then like become a thing. Like we went to those early versions of FIF, which had a bad ending, but they were like in a parking lot where it was like a prison camp where they ran out of water and stuff, and like that they there's that it's cool when something becomes successful and continues, and that you can develop those habitual patterns. And I have my friends Claire and George every year go to the country version of Coachella.
Boots and Hearts.
Stagecoach.
Boots and Hearts is here.
Yeah, Boots and Hearts, and
That's
they're
the
always
Canadian
like
version of Stagecoach.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like both of those things. I'm curious as to what the vibe is of that. I have a feeling probably the behavior is worse in a weird way.
I would say absolutely. I think it's probably a lot of like millionaires in cowboy boots behaving very badly.
Yeah, I bet that's true. What I mean, if if is there to end this, is there one festival that that is still on your list that you never played, or that you played and you would go back to as a consumer of festivals? Is there something you want to see, maybe even despite your best interest, that is just like a thing you wanted to have another notch on your festival belt?
Yeah, I really have beautiful memories of playing at Osheaga, which is it's actually also happening this weekend. We're recording this. It's in Montreal, which sort of, Quebec is neither American nor Canadian nor wholly European, but I think they do have a little bit more of the ability to gather in a positive energy. And there's another festival in Quebec City called FEQ that's also amazing. And I think actually Pitchfork or Stereo Gum, one of the music websites I used to read, but now I don't pay for, so I can't read the articles anymore, just did an article about FEQ that was like, they do festivals right in Quebec City. And I remember Osheaga being, really fun to play, really notorious for having great catering. And they did indeed have like amazing, there's like lobster and shit backstage.
Wow.
That's what's going on. That's what's going on backstage. That's how the other half lives, or was anyway. But I'd love to attend it as an audience member and see if it has the same magic, if that carries over into the common areas. And they usually get a pretty good lineup too. Like this year, as we speak, 21 Pilots is headlining everything, which is good news for them, but less good news for me. But they got Geese and Turnstile and Lord and, Franz Ferdinand is doing the festival rounds this year. Wet Leg, Wolf Alice, you mentioned at a different one. You see a lot of the same bands on all these posters, which is also interesting to me, how there's always sort of like a traveling festival family that goes from place to place, and is also maybe something that the advent of the internet and the ability to see what's going on at all these festivals maybe diminishes the specialness of each individual lineup, where you can say, well, everyone gets to see Wolf Alice at a festival this summer. It's not particularly unusual for them to do it. And you didn't used to know that, and now you know that. Anyway, Osheaga is my pick. What's yours?
Mine is the Eddie Vedder curated Ohana Festival that is this year celebrating its 10th anniversary.
Wow.
It inevitably has one day of bands that I'm like, I truly do not understand why this day is programmed this way, and I cannot justify doing it. But it also is like, I'm an old time Pearl Jam stan, as the kids say, and this year it is Eddie Vedder is playing the Friday night headlining date. But then like every other band is a band that I've seen before. Tyler Childers is playing the Saturday night headlining date. And that to me is the day that I truly am like, what is this? It's like Tyler Childers, Alabama Shakes, John Batiste, Men I Trust, Stephen Wilson Jr., the Front Bottoms. It's like Alice Phoebe Lou, just a bunch of
It's like the
Really?
Barack Obama summer playlist
Yeah,
day.
it's truly that. Like, yeah, the people who lost the election for us in that's it is
Curated by
that's
Robbie Mook.
yeah, the reason why Trump got elected. Like, but all those bands are bands. Also, I don't really have like a good relationship with. I don't know anything about them really, other than knowing, oh, like that's a band that I should probably listen to. And then, so maybe I'm being unfair to like the Alabama Shakes. I'm sure that they're great, and I'm just like,
I'm sure they're a great festival act. You know, you see
yeah,
them
yeah,
at
yeah.
dusk, and though you hear the songs, you hear that voice, and it's like that makes sense to me. That's an energy that I can like projected outwards into the open air. Feels like it would ripple through a crowd and hit everyone in different ways, which is what I want from festival music.
For sure. And then the Sunday is like Pearl Jam headlining, Fontaine's DC, Pixies, Rilo Kiley, The Format, Horse Girl. Like it's but it's like every day is 8 or 10 bands. It seems pretty reasonable. It seems like it's in a Dana Point, like heaven on earth, where the weather will be perfect unless it's just it'll be like being in a warm bath and hearing bands that you love. And I just never have been able to force myself to go down there, or it's always, the timing's always wrong or something. And so one day I will hopefully go down there before Pearl Jam is gone, or that this Pearl Jam is in a bit of a like revival period right now. I mean, they will never go away for real, but it is, they're sort of my generation's Springsteen at this point, like playing 3-hour shows, making everyone happy, appealing to mostly men, so I'd like to go to that, and I'd like to, but for the time being, I'm going to be every year at SG101. Come down and see me. Last year, SG101 was in its final year at a place called the Golden Sails, which was a hotel that was condemned, and they were forced at the last minute to find a new location. This year, it is in an Elks Lodge in Garden Grove, California. I hope it will be there next year too, or maybe even a bigger space, because the Saturday sold out. It was like packed, and I was, and maybe that's because of the great lineup of bands, but and Music is a fantastic label, and this is a special celebration of their 30 years of output. But come down to SG101 next year, Graham.
I'd like to.
And sit
I
with
would really
me.
enjoy that. If you're driving, I'll ride along.
Yeah, sit at a table. We'll take an Uber. We'll have some Mai Tais.
I would love that. I do love a good Mai Tai, especially at a festival. And I thought that I couldn't go to a festival if I wasn't playing. I thought that I was too fancy and special to be out among the hoi polloi. And I learned this year that I can hack it. I can handle it out among the people. I can wait in line for a bowl,
Slop.
And
a bowl of
it's
slop
okay. A bowl of slop.
Steaming bowl of slop.
That's right. Ladled out to me by a sort of a grim Dickensian workwoman. And
who just wants to slit your throat, like she's just baking in the
apropos
hot
of nothing.
sun.
Billy Bragg at this festival, who played a lovely set, but I think like 3 or 4 individual times throughout the set, when talking about Woody Guthrie, specifically said guitars don't kill fascists, people have to kill fascists, and really seemed like he was trying to incite the people of Aurelia to go out and start killing fascists in the streets. And I thought that was great stuff. So good for Billy, and good for me.
To quote Rage Against the Machine, it has to start somewhere. It has to start sometime. What better place than here? What better time than now?
And that's your MLD news. That's the MLDT.
Oh.
I love festivals. I am cynical about what they have come to represent, and who owns them and controls them, and to what ends, particularly in this widening gyre we call North America. But I think that the idea of gathering people together to listen to music is so pure and so beautiful that it will never go away. It will only evolve. And I look forward to going to the Station 11 traveling Shakespeare troupe music festival in the post-apocalyptic hellscape with you in 30 years. when they have to make their own reverb tanks out of like old carburetors.
We'll be doing this podcast as a traveling troupe. I like that.
I like that too. The traveling podcast troupe. We're not gonna make it one day through the wilderness.
Just wooden microphones that are also work as like a baton to fight off the marauders that are coming for what's left, our platinum or whatever the copper wire that we've stolen.
Yeah, at the Nostalgic Podcast Festival in 2057, we're doing playing 11 a.m. on the side stage. It's the headliner is Chicken Shop Girl, and it's going to be beautiful.
It's going to be beautiful.
Hot
ones.
We're going to pay
of hot
beans.
Ones. Well, hot ones, but it's a human baby that they're eating, like from
in the Road Warrior, or what's the third? What's the third one?
Thunderdome. Yeah, Thunderdome.
We'll see you there.
See you there.
John Paul, it's always a pleasure potting with you. They always end in
Graham.
this general zone of energy, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Major label debut and MLD news is produced, as always, by Josh Hook. I think probably now back from vacation and forced once again to edit this malarkey into a consumable form, and we thank him for it. John Paul Bullock, my guest co-anchor and dear friend and surf guitar enthusiast, is also the producer of the show. John Paul, have a great time today at the rest of the festival.
Thank you, Graham. I will be sending you pictures of just like gear, of reverb tanks.
When they start the Podcast Themes Festival, make sure you go early to catch Greg Alsop's set. He wrote our theme music. I don't know why I said early. He should play late. Greg should have a prime slot, if you ask me. He's a great podcast theme composer and a great composer of all kinds of music. Greg, we love you as well.
Love you, Greg.
And that's it. That's the show. That's the news. That's what you need to know about music festivals, more or less. I think you can put this on Voyager 3 and send it out to the Kuiper Belt, because that's everything anyone ever needs to know. And that's Major Label Debut. We'll return with more tales, news, and wild theorizing from the intersection of art and commerce. Take it easy.
Bye.